This week, I really want to talk about incorporating magic into the mundane. For so many people, it feels like witchiness or magic is just kind of what they do on the side, or when they're doing ritual or a specific spell or working or practice, they feel magical, but it tends to not infuse the rest of their day. And one of my favorite parts of my witchy or spiritual practice is that I have really infused a lot of my practices with my everyday life. I am a Taurus, and so I really appreciate things that are realistic and grounded and very much accessible and simple in my everyday life. Now, it doesn't mean I don't enjoy a good ritual or something kind of more extravagant or kind of separate from what I do every day, but I don't want my everyday to not feel magical. So I think I really want to do a series of videos about bringing magic into the mundane by showing you different ways that I've done that in my life. Now, it does not mean that this is the best way or the only way. I'm hoping it is simply inspiration for you to think about what are the things that you do a lot every day or that you do frequently every week, and how can you infuse more magic and creativity and just like a feeling of awe and wonder in your everyday life, because that's really where the magic happens, because we know that magic exists on the plane that we live kind of in and between all things. So to really feel like we're interacting with it, we need to interact with it on a regular basis, and it doesn't need to be complicated. You don't need a bunch of tools. It could be really simple. So today I'm going to walk you through one of the magical practices that I have around working from home in my very non-magical job. So if you work from home, you can see if any of these things resonate with you or do something similar, or maybe this will inspire you to do it in a whole other way that brings magic into your life. And before we jump in, if you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, thank you so much for revisiting my channel. On this channel, you will find kind of a mixture of things that have supported me on my own healing and wellness journey. We'll do a little bit of a combination of nature, spirituality, and the wheel of the year. We'll also look at cyclic living, which is bringing rest and rhythm into your own life based on your personal rhythms and the seasonal rhythms, and as well as witchy and magical inspiration that I have for you. And of course, herbalism. I am studying to be a clinical herbalism, so I do offer some student-based herbal content on my channel and hope to learn and grow more and offer even more content as I move further in my studies. So I hope that you find something that resonates with you here. Everyone is welcome, and thank you so much for being here. If you are new and haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing or giving a thumbs up on the video if you enjoy it. Let's get into the video. So when I was working in the clinic as a nurse practitioner, I actually did have several things in my office that really helped me ground and stay focused on the task ahead, and also remember that there was still magic that I could access as I was moving throughout my day. Now, I did suffer a pretty serious burnout in that job and ended up leaving in 2023 and have transitioned to working from home in a phone-based consult. This is not my normal get up for work. It is normally much more casual, but it is a Friday evening when I'm recording this, and I'm going to be meeting a friend for a Broadway show in Durham. So I'm a little more dressed up than normal, but nonetheless, I've been working from home now since late 2023, still in a nursing role, and I have a little more flexibility now in what I can do and have near my desk because it's part of my home. So I decided to make kind of like a mini sacred space next to my work desk. So I will show you that here in a minute and what it is. Now, the other thing I really like to do is not just have my sacred space, which has items on it that support me throughout the day or help me ground, or if you're working with others as part of your job, it kind of helps to take in what I'm experiencing from other people and then kind of like re-release it back into a stone or into a candle, just so like I don't keep all of the things that other people are telling me. In a healthcare role, I do hear a lot of really challenging things, also some amazing things, but I do work in the behavioral health realm. So there are a lot of challenging things that people are struggling with. So I enjoy hearing them and working with folks on that. But I also like to be able to release it and reground it so that I can leave work and not carry that with me. Now, I think when you're working from home, it is really important to have boundaries, right? So especially when you're working from home, work can kind of easily slip into other areas of your life. I can easily take whatever I'm doing here and like keep it in my mind or my body, and then I quickly go downstairs and now I'm living my quote unquote life outside of work. So if we don't have a kind of like opening to work and closing to work, like we do maybe when we go into an office or we commute. We naturally have the drive in or the drive home, or just a physical location difference. Like when we don't have those, things can kind of blend together and we start to see work creeping outside of the bounds that you feel it should have. And so my magical practices kind of support my ability to not suffer from burnout again, to have good boundaries for my work, both physically, but also spiritually, energetically, and just honestly mindset of like, okay, work is happening. Okay, work is now closed. I can go downstairs, cleanse, and be ready for my day, or to interact with my partner, right, without carrying all of the work with me. So my magical practice really does support my kind of healing and what I've learned about myself, and that I am very prone to burnout and letting work infuse my life in ways that I don't want it to infuse. Now, of course, I'm building this business, which feels quite different because I'm feeling a lot of work-life integration with Witch Be Well, but as I'm doing my other job, it's not that I don't enjoy it, but I do like it to have a little bit more clear boundaries on how it impacts my life. So one of the things that I do often, especially if I have a very busy day with a lot of patients, I definitely in the beginning when I was very deep in burnout, I did this practice every single day. But now that I'm kind of coming out of burnout, I kind of do it as needed, or when I know my energy is already a little bit low, or I know that I just have a very full schedule. What I will do is do a very quick kind of opening into my workday. So I will sit, I will have my altar, which I'll show you, and I will light candles. I will turn on my salt lamp, and I will kind of hold my crystals, and I will just kind of sit and visualize my energy returning back to me, because of course our energy kind of goes all over the place as we move throughout our lives. It connects to people and places and activities and thoughts, right? It goes everywhere. And so I have first a visualization of just, can I return all the energy that is mine, kind of all the little cobwebs, all the little things, can I return it to me? So kind of like a centering process. And then I will do a grounding process. So I will ground into the earth and just kind of visualize my roots going down to kind of settle me into the space, know that I'm arriving into work to prepare my mind and body for that. And then a lot of times what I'll do is set some intentions, and I will set some boundaries. So I always start with gratitude first. So gratitude for having this role, having financial stability, having a good team that I work with, and the ability to support people in their own healing journeys. So I usually start with some kind of gratitude, whatever is coming up that day for the work that I'm doing, to kind of put me in a good headspace instead of going in and feeling any kind of dread or just upsetness about the work that you're doing. Work is not always fun. We don't enjoy all the parts, but hopefully there's something you can report as gratitude and fill yourself with that good feeling first thing in the morning, or the first time you get into work. So I start with gratitude in my mind. I may speak it or just kind of think it and feel it. Then I will ask the earth or whatever I'm drawing energy from, but usually to keep things simple, I do just use the earth. I ask that she kind of bring some energy up through me and literally create a little bubble around me. So a bubble around my whole little work office, my computers, my desk, my altar, just like the space and sphere that I do my work in. I visualize this as energy coming up and out, creating the bubble. It may be sparkly or green or just white energy, just depends on what's happening in my brain that day. I often will also use plants. So I love English ivy as this like very durable, intense plant that can pretty much grow on anything. And yes, you can like peer through it, but it pretty much, when it's growing intense, creates like a wall, if you've ever seen it. So I will sometimes visualize ivy kind of growing up and around me for like a supportive little bubble for work, to both contain the work I'm doing, to let the energy and the things that are happening and other people's stories and energies not leak into my house, for it all just to stay in the bubble. And that I also be supported within that bubble, because the work that I do can be challenging, of course, when you're working with folks who are struggling with depression or anxiety. I like to have some extra energy with me to support me in being able to serve all the patients that I see. And so I will ask kind of the bubble to not only keep things in, but also just to support me with that kind of extra energy. And I ask that just when I walk out of the bubble, it kind of cleanses me and I can go and, get a snack or a drink of water, anything like that throughout the day. So I don't like open and close this constantly, because I think that would be really challenging and just not conducive to my workflow. So I just ask that as I move through, it be cleansed, it leaves work here, but then I can enter freely, that all positive energy may kind of allow itself to be in that space, but that negative things are just not welcome. And so yeah, I just set that circle or that bubble for myself, and that feels very good. I feel like I'm ready, I'm here, I'm in my space, my home is protected, my space is protected. And then depending on the stones that I have, I will use those as well to kind of infuse the space. So for example, I have on my altar a couple of different things. I almost always have a clear quartz, and I have citrine. So this is really helpful for the clear quartz. For me, it's very like clearing. It gives me kind of mental clarity. It helps me kind of see through things and help people see what's going on for them and support them in setting goals and their own healing journey. And so I love really clear quartz. I mean, you can kind of use it for anything, but to me, I ask that it help me be clear in thought and communication, since I do work on the phone, that I can work with people and really relay what I'm trying to say and also receive what it is they're trying to tell me. And then I be clear of mind to be able to assist them in whatever way that they need. And then the citrine for me, I always feel, especially this one with the kind of like the sparkle orange on top, to me is very like light and open and receiving and abundance and kind of like sunny. And a lot of times, again, when I'm doing this work, especially when we're working with folks who are suffering from depression or anxiety, things can get kind of heavy. So I ask that this stone kind of help bring a little bit of upliftingness to the work we're doing, that there might be some light that I can help them see as they're working through depression and anxiety, and that there may be something positive that comes out of our connection on that day, and that it also support me in bouncing my energy a little bit and giving me some extra energy, uplifting me so that I can serve the people who I'm here to serve. And so I kind of ask that not just support me in this circle, but that it kind of like pervade the whole little bubble that I've created. That's just kind of nice, clear energy in that circle. Then I also always have grounding stones. So I have a worry stone, and I forget what this one is, but I'm not a huge person for like certain specific stones meaning certain things. I'm very much like intuitively, what does it mean for me? So any dark stone to me is very grounding. It's very absorbing. And so this one though is in kind of a worry stone shape. So it has the little thumb. So especially if like after a visit or just after some interaction, I feel like there's a lot of energy buzzing around, I can kind of use this and rub it to really help me release some of the energy into the stone. So that's really helpful, or just having it around just helps me know like, okay, this is a lot, but this isn't mine. I can let it kind of pass through and move out into something else. And this one's a newer for me. I believe it's called shungite. I will clarify if I'm wrong. And this one I learned about because I went to get actually my first pendulum recently, and I was drawn to the one that had shungite on it. And I didn't even know what it was. I knew it was a dark stone. It just felt really good to me. Like, this is the thing I'm supposed to have. And apparently it's good for like EMF and kind of capturing all the electronic stuff that bounces around. So I was like, oh, this would be good to have by computers and electronics that I'm on all day. It's also very grounding, and I think helps with looking at the past and accepting it and using it in the present to help us set a new path and a new future, but not necessarily dwelling in the past. And I think that's a really beautiful thing for me and for the patients that I work with to have that intention, or that I hope for them that they can look at their past, use their past, but not get stuck, and be able to learn and move forward on the path that it is they desire to be on. So this is a newer addition for me, but I usually have some grounding stones, like whatever I have around. And then I'll show you some other items I have on there, but I use those stones to kind of like help in my space. And I also just keep them on my altar while I'm working, and will kind of interact with them if I feel that I need them. So before I show you the altar, I go through my work throughout the day. And at the end of the day, I will close the space. So I will thank the earth or the elements, or if I did call in anyone to help me, I will thank them for their assistance. To the ivy, I will thank them for holding this boundary for me. I will then ground myself back into the earth to try to like cleanse away any extra energy that's still hanging on. I may hold the darker stones or the clear quartz, like whatever I feel I need, I will kind of hold to like cleanse and release and really close out that day. And then I will again do a piece of gratitude, and then I will kind of visualize the ivy going back into the ground, the bubble of light energy that the earth has given me back to the ground, release anything I don't need anymore back to the ground. And I happen to have a window like right in front of my desk, so I will open that if it's not open already, which it usually is, but I will open that and kind of, again, visualize any extra energy kind of moving out. And so that really helps me close the space. I kind of say to myself, I'm done with work, I'm leaving this here. I ask that it not interfere with my thoughts or my sleep or kind of my relationships throughout the day, that I officially close work until I am back at the next time. And I do have on my altar as well a couple of cleansing sprays. So if that's something you make or you have, these are kind of aromatherapy sprays. One is kind of a sage cleanse, one is just inner peace. Sometimes I'll do sage first, like in the morning, and then inner peace at the end of the day, or vice versa, just kind of whatever I need. Or honestly, throughout the day, if I'm feeling a little stressed or amped up, or I'm struggling a little bit, I may use one or both of these depending on what I need. And that aromatherapy can be really beautiful and really helpful for me. So I do use these. So I'm going to show you a little bit of my altar. And again, it changes all the time. It kind of depends on what I have. A lot of times I have tea or coffee or something or whatever I'm drinking, and my mug, and I try to have like a pretty mug or just something that feels good for that day. I have many mugs, but this felt very soothing. I love the blue, and I have some coasters that have different stones, and they're just shaped like trees, and they're very pretty, and I enjoy looking at them. I often will have a rose quartz little candle holder here because, you know, when it's lit, it just reminds me of love and peace, and that there's still warmth and beauty in this world that can be shared with others as I work with people. And it just brings me a sense of joy. I'll often have a different candle there if I happen to have one. Sometimes it's scented, sometimes it's not. And then most of the crystals we talked about are here. And then I have this little guy, just like having him around. He reminds me that there is a sense of magic all the time and mystery, and I just love skulls, so I have him here. And then I do have some a Bridget cross and some information about Bridget from some artwork I had. And I keep Bridget here because she does have a lot of implication for healers, and my role is mostly in a healing role. And so I think having her here and her energy and support can be really wonderful. Plus she has the fire element, so it's not all just love and light. It can also be challenges and destruction and getting rid of old patterns. So I haven't worked with her explicitly as a goddess, so I'm not going to talk too much about that here, but I love her energy. I love learning about her. And so I do have her information here and this cross here that I actually got in Ireland. And then I have a little shell here that I got from some gift package. And inside is actually a list of things from the Sisters Enchanted. They're a wonderful group online that you can find. They have tons of witchy self-growth activities and courses and lots of free content, and Sisters Enchanted is just wonderful. So I highly encourage to check them out. But they have kind of a way that they use the moon as a kind of setting intentions, which, you know, I think a lot of people do, but they have kind of a very specific framework. And so this is one of the activities we did with kind of writing the framework down. And so sometimes I'll kind of look at that and use it, and it's just really beautiful. But I won't go over the framework here since it isn't mine to offer, but go ahead and look up the Sisters Enchanted. And then I have my salt lamp just to kind of keep the space clean and open. And it's, again, just really beautiful. And then I have my sprays and like a little cute plant, fake plant guy, since I don't get a ton of sun in here. So he's kind of cute. But that's really it. It can be really simple. You can have lots of different things on it. Sometimes I will add other things depending on what I need that day. But this is kind of the general layout that I have. And so I hope that's really helpful. It definitely has helped me kind of ground into work and then end work, which I think even if you are not a witchy or spiritual person, I think we all know that setting boundaries for physical space and mental space can be really helpful, being able to turn on and off things. And, you know, with the internet and things on our phones all the time, it's kind of hard to have that boundary of time. And I think there's a time and a place for it. I am very interested in work-life integration and not having such rigid bounds, but that would be more when I'm running my own business and I feel that it is part of my purpose and just part of who I am. Whereas the job I'm doing now, I do really enjoy, but I do want those bounds set. And so I use kind of my witchy practices and how I know how to do that to support me in starting my day and ending my day. And I will say it really helps. It really helps ground me. I do not wake up in the morning thinking first thing about patients or about work or dreading work. That doesn't happen to me anymore. When I go downstairs and talk to my partner after work, yes, there may be something I want to bring up about, like I struggled or I'm stressed or something. It doesn't mean I can't share that, but I don't feel that I'm just kind of bubbling on work all evening and kind of feeding that all to him. Like I can have a little bit of a more clean slate and go down and enjoy the evening with him. And so I hope this practice is inspiring. You can think of other ways to incorporate these practices or other practices for whatever intention it is that you are trying to have. For me, it was about burnout, boundaries, and kind of opening into my work and leaving my work so that it didn't stick with me all the time. And this also just helps lighten my mood. It helps me remember that I do have a witchy spiritual practice that is important to me and that I can infuse it in so many different ways into what I do every day. So I will show you other ways that I incorporate magic into my mundane life throughout the next few months. There are many ways. Some of them are small, some of them are bigger, but I am excited to share it because I really do think when we can start to infuse magic and witchcraft or spirituality, whatever your word is, with the life that you have every day, that's really when life starts to feel magical and joyous and wonder, and we start picking up on synchronicities. So I think it's really important, and I do think it can really serve our growth, our healing, and our journey if we use these practices in a way that support our intentions. So let me know in the comments if there's any way that you love using witchcraft or spirituality around work or around working from home or any other mundane act that you feel you incorporate witchy vibes. I would love to know. So stay tuned in the upcoming months. I'll be sharing more. Thanks so much for watching.